My parents' names were Max Stern, and my mother's name was Anna Worksman. My father's family was from an area around Vienna in the Austro-Hungarian, grew up in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and came to the United States when he was about 18 or 19. In the meantime, he came from an Orthodox Jewish family that a rather prosperous business family in the Vienna area, and he was one of 6 siblings. He had 4 sisters and a brother, and as people may know, the Orthodox didn't approve of art and artists in the family, but my father went off and went to the L'École des Beaux-Arts in Paris and studied painting for a couple of years before he came to the United States on an old steamer where he worked as a waiter, and when he first came to the United States used calligraphy to design menus in restaurants, and throughout this process he developed gourmet appreciation for food, and also became a superb cook. And then later went into business in Portchester. My parents met in Portchester. My mother was working for my father's sister and brother-in-law in a lingerie store, and my father and mother met there and got married. And my father was always artistic, as I remember, did a lot of paintings and drawings for me, loved Impressionist art, loved nature, gardening. We walked a great deal in the countryside, and I think my love of gardening and nature and painting all developed from this association with my dad. My father was a Germanic type, certainly, a little bit dour in appearance, and didn't smile as much, and much more of an introvert. My mother, on the other hand, who grew up on the East Side, was very sociable, outgoing, extroverted, and a Lithuanian. Parents' background from Lithuania. My mother was born down near Delancey Street, and she had 2 sisters and an unfortunate youth. Her mother died when they were quite young. My mother was the eldest child. She was 8 at that point. And her father put the 3 girls in an orphanage until he remarried and then took them out again after 2 or 3 years. I never knew this until my mother's death. She was near death when she mentioned this, so she probably was concerned with abandonment for a long period of her life, which she never talked about with us. Although she was very close with her sisters, and the one thing she always made sure that my sister and I did not argue, because she said my sisters and I always had this wonderful relationship. We loved each other so much and didn't argue. And so that was an interesting sort of thing. My mother had a number of friends in the area and entertained quite a bit, although she worked full-time with my dad in the store. And she sometimes took off on trips on her own to Cuba, other places, independent type, certainly. And so we had a pleasant time growing up. My sister went away to college when I was, obviously, 10, and would come home, and I guess probably my mother always asked her to, but nevertheless, She always included me in her trips to New York to see plays in the theater, so that I got to love that cultural part of my life through going to the theater with my sister. And then my parents also enjoyed the theater, and I have some fond memories of the early Yiddish theaters in New York, which I didn't understand, and now when I look back at some of these scenes and so forth, they're quite delightful, but I didn't comprehend them. They also did attend the theater in Manhattan too, so I grew up with a tremendous love for theater at an early age, and I enjoyed painting and took art lessons. My sister, on the other hand, had taken drama classes and drama lessons, and she went into that direction. And so, in addition to her teaching, when she grew up, she had a part on one of these soapbox opera radios, Stella Dallas. So we always laugh at that part, her infamous fame. And she went on throughout her life with tremendous affection for the theater. And even at age 89, when she died, she could probably cite hundreds of plays that she remembered and the characters. It was an interesting part of our life. So while I grew up in this small town, we had access to Manhattan and a certain sophistication there that was very nice.